Welcome to Horns Up. I'm Peter.
And I'm Animesh, and joining the two of us on Horns Up are multiple members of thrash metal band Necropanther. The band just released its fourth full-length album, Betrayal, on the 3rd of March, 2023. Congratulations and welcome to Horns Up, guys. And just to make sure our listeners know who's who, could you all introduce yourselves one by one, maybe alphabetical order, if that's easy, so that our listeners can identify who's who by their voices?
Sounds good. This is Joe Johnson. I'm the guitar player for Necropanther.
My name is Marcus Corich. I'm the bassist and vocalist for Necropanther.
Awesome. Welcome to Horns Up once again, guys. Congratulations on Betrayal. The album's now officially available to anyone who wants to listen to it. Is it still tough to wrap your head around the fact that something so private, something you guys took so much effort to create, can now be enjoyed or not and be opined upon and used as such by anyone and everyone?
Yeah, it's a strange feeling. So this is actually the release day, and we worked on this record longer than any other record that we've worked on. I think it's our best work. It is something that we looked forward to sharing with the world, but we wanted to make sure that it was as good as it could be before we released it.
It's definitely a weird feeling that it's actually out there, but I don't know. It's a relief to a certain extent to actually have it out and have it available to everyone. It's nice.
Okay, so now that it's in multiple people's hands or ear holes as such, what's the reception been like? Are people reacting the way you'd want them to react?
By and large, it seems like it's being received really well, which is, always awesome to hear. I get a certain amount of enjoyment when people don't like it. When people, just kind of don't connect with it. I feel like there's still some value in that. So, I'm down for the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
We are pretty clear on the artistic direction that we want to take. So, the reception has been good. The places where there's criticism, it's interesting. It tends to be things that thinking about the music in a way that we don't think about it when we're working on it. And so that is interesting. We have things that we want to do still with the band and with our music. And, I would say we would not let the nature of the reception adjust what our artistic vision and our path would be.
Okay. Having said that, I'm sure you would be reading reviews, or maybe not, or at least listening to opinions, etc., from those people whose opinions actually matter, and a lot more from those who don't. Largely, do their views help validate what you guys were wanting to do with the album, or especially the criticisms, does it result in a lot more "I told you so's" on your Signal group, or "oh damn, they just don't get what we want to do"?
It's closer to the second one. I think there's a lot of we play fast, right? We play thrash, but we try to have rigorous musicianship. We try to take time and collaborate on the things that we do. And I think that there is a certain amount of subtlety and maybe density of information that people in listening over a week or maybe even just a couple of times to make a review, I think a lot of it is really lost on people. But that's not really why we're making the music. We're making it for the fans. We're trying to make music that is durable and listenable and that will sort of stand the test of time in a way. And if I could choose between getting great reviews and having kids that are just getting into this type of music be excited about it and want to capture their imagination and make them think about music and art and culture in a different way, that's what I would prefer, and I'll take any bad reviews that come with that.
I love the fact that you use durability as one of the adjectives to define your intentions.
I mean, absolutely. Like we're really trying to create a band with longevity and a band with staying power. And I think to Joey's point, I mean, we will take the bad reviews all day, because I mean, you know, at the very least, people are listening to it and people are reacting to it and forming an opinion about it. And you know, that's just kind of the nature of art. Is once it's out there, it's on its own, and people are gonna experience it however they want to. And you just gotta roll with it and be stoked on it.
And actually, it's interesting, right? Because if you think about it, the whole idea of art is to kind of create some kind of emotion. But today, you literally have, like, I don't know, 30-second, 60-second reviews, or someone who's heard the album. Or I don't know, at some points, I really wonder when I read certain reviews, and I think Animesh and I trade notes on this, has the guy really even finished listening to the album, right? It ends up being something like that. But having said that, I mean, let's talk a bit about Betrayal, because I'm very curious, because Betrayal actually is based on the movie The Warriors, which also kind of talks about the story, the Greek story of Anabasis by Xenophon. So who was the first person in the band to watch the movie, or was that something y'all did together?
So, like we were talking about before the interview started, we have a process, and that includes spreadsheets and voting matrices and things like that. So, I think it really starts with the fact that we've developed into a band where everybody writes, and so having that concept really allows us to all do our own thing, but then to focus the finished result and to have everybody get their shots in. But you know, while we were developing the demos that eventually became this record, we had some different themes that were under discussion, and honestly, we were getting pretty far into demoing things and didn't have the theme yet. We had maybe 30 demos going at one time before we were starting to funnel it down, and I think Warriors was a pretty late addition. I'm not sure who mentioned it first. It might have been Marcus. I probably watched the movie when I was a kid, so you know, it was something that was familiar to me. And then we did watch it all as a group, and eventually funnel down to selecting it as you know, still a written as a near future dystopia, but not as science fiction oriented as some of the other things that we focused on.
Okay, 1 second. I have to ask this and get the elephant out of the room. You guys are a 4-member band. How do voting dynamics work? How often do you guys just end up at a 50-50 logjam?
Luckily for us, it's fairly infrequent. We have a fairly streamlined process where you know, we trust each other enough, and we, you know, value each other's voices enough that even if we have like a 2-person quorum, we say, cool, if 2 people have this idea, let's roll with it, and we're all down.
Okay, and guess what, listeners of Horns Up? We have another member of Necropanther just dialing in and joining in. Paul is joining in
let's
as well.
find out if Marcus is actually being honest.
Alrighty.
So Paul, you walked in right in time when Marcus was describing how you guys have a great voting system and how you all kind of decide things. So has there been a time where you felt that, like, you know what, this is how things should be done, but were outvoted by the others?
Honestly, no. That actually has never come up.
Yeah. And of course, Marcus is raising his hands in victory.
I'm not an egotistical guy. You know, I don't feel like I started this band for me, you know. I just started it because I wanted to make music with good musicians, and these guys are great musicians. So when they have ideas, and it might not be something that I thought about, or it might be against something that I think, I try to take their advice and know that we're gonna we're gonna go the right way no matter what.
Paul really living up to being absolutely delivering 110% right from the get-go, because he didn't even have context of what we were talking about. Superb job.
Exactly.
Was a message on Signal just shot out, like without us getting to know about it? Okay, just kidding.
We're-
I mean, honestly, though, we do talk about these issues and like what will be our working norms, what will be the way that we interact as a group and as friends. And it really it's similar to that idea of the art being durable. We have to have this partnership be durable for it to achieve its full potential. So
Yeah.
Paul wasn't in the conversation 5 minutes ago, but these are the things that we talk about a lot in band practice. As surprising as that might be, or unconventional for metal bands.
It's really not, because weirdly enough, having played in bands and still playing in a band, actually, the chemistry between band members is somehow always translates to the piece of music that's released or whatever you're creating, or even in a performance. You can tell when a band is just one person's vision or two persons vision, and the rest of the musicians kind of are session players, versus when it's a band that's come together authentically, and the awesome story of people meeting in a jam room with shared interests and proceeding then to create stuff together. And on by that regard, Necropanther's music definitely is the latter, not the former. So, talking about Betrayal a little bit more, you guys mentioned that it's an album that took you the longest amount of time to create or to work on, right? So, when did the writing process for Betrayal actually begin? And did you change the process as such that you used to write your earlier albums?
if memory serves, we kind of started like the conceptual process of what do we want to do for the next album. I want to say like late 2020. And we just, kind of all like we did something like this. We had a little Zoom meeting. We all kind of sat down. We said, what do we want our next project to be? How do we want it to sound? What are the kind of like the goals that we have individually and collectively that we want to try to achieve in that? Once we kind of had that fleshed out, then our process changed a little bit, where we were more rigorous and more selective in what went on the album. We were also really lucky. We had just a huge amount of music and ideas to choose from. Like Joe and Paul had just amassed massive amounts of riffs and ideas. So we were really able to sift through that really selectively and work those all up. I mean, pretty thoroughly as a group. So it was just, a labor of love that took longer than our other ones.
Yeah. Right after we released the EP that I wrote, In Depths We Sleep, I just started racking on demos, and I believe everyone else did as well. And I just felt like super inspired, and I think I knocked out like 11 demos or something. Joe had like 11 or 12 as well, and it just all kind of started from there, and we kind of picked what we felt was best, and we all collaborated on all the songs.
I think we were happy with the last two records, Eyes of Blue Light and Doom City, but one of the things that we talked about in that conversation about setting the stage for this record is that we didn't want to just do the same thing again. We wanted to put our best foot forward and make it the most complete, most realized record that we've done so far. And I think we did that.
It's crazy when I was thinking about it, because you said that like you're at demos for almost 30 songs, which is, if you think about it, like I don't know, could have been a double album, triple album, depending on the song lengths in there. But since we have Paul, I mean, one of the things that the press note actually mentioned was this is the first time that you've actually written solos. What was that like, and how did that kind of have an impact on just the whole experience between you and Joe? If you could kind of talk about that.
Yeah. So Joe has always primarily been the solo and the lead player, especially live, since I mainly do vocals. But we, as Joe mentioned before, we were thinking, how could we make this album a little bit better, than our previous ones? And as we were doing that and songwriting, we get to solo sections where we decided that we were going to have some key changes in the solo sections. And we decided, well, if there's a key change, it's almost like a double solo. So why doesn't, maybe there's room for Paul to do a solo? And I think I just said, yeah, sure, let's do it, without even really thinking about it. And then after I set in, I was like, oh, wow, I have to write solos for the first time. But it was actually pretty fun, very challenging. Joe definitely helped me learn the way of the lead playing. And I think it makes our live shows more fun because we kind of switch off in the front and we switch off solos. Yeah, I think he's just really helped me become a better lead player. And I've kind of looked up to him for the past few years. And now I'm finally kind of blossoming into my own flower, I guess you could say.
Are duels going to be a thing now?
Dual leads?
Like dual harmony solos.
Dual harmonies as well as solo duels, as in DUELS.
Oh, yeah.
Most definitely, yes.
It's an exhibition, not a competition.
We'll take it. Alrighty. We've spoken so much about Betrayal. I think let's give our listeners a taste of the album. What's a song that best represents the album as such? Let's see if there's a consensus on that.
I don't know if there's going to be one, man. I don't know. Into Danger, maybe?
That's what I was going to vote for because it has double solos. It has a solo from me, a solo from Joe. It has lead vocals from Marcus, lead vocals from me, and it has our melodic parts as well as death metal parts. So I think it kind of sums up the album and what we're doing now as a whole pretty well.
I'm outvoted. I'm not gonna disagree. I'm outvoted already.
Where's Hacken when you really need him? Okay, cool. So into Danger is the fifth track on the album. Was it a tough song to write? Was it one of the easier songs to write? Let's get that perspective in before playing out the song.
Joe originally, this is a Joe original, so let's let him have it.
I think we talked a little bit about the demos, and that's not to be undersold, right? It helps to have a lot of good raw material to build the record from. But I think the other thing that we really focused on after we had the raw material and it's clear we've got the riffs to make this record is really about the process. And we focused on getting in a room as a band and like working up the pieces, figuring out how the arrangements worked. And I think the process is as important as the raw material as well with this band. And we did change a lot of things and developed the parts and made them better than they were before. And so in the case of and we had several songs where we did multiple demos and then decided not to put them on the record. So this song in particular, and many of them, but this one is definitely representative of that. We had at least 30 different versions of it that we developed while we were in pre-production for this record. And so I think that's really where it gets the richness and the density of information in the songs that we wanted to have on this record was working it up as a band.
I'm just going to add to what Joe said. We had several versions of this song. it didn't feel 100% right for a long time, but once we finally got it, we were like, this is a magical song for us. We really enjoy playing it. Yeah, I think it might have been one of the first demos that we started working on, but one of the last ones that we finished up.
Alrighty, so here it is. Here is Into Danger.
Now, one of the cool things I found out about your band is that all of your material is actually recorded and produced by you. So, how different was the process this time? I mean, or do you all follow the approach, which is if it's not broken, let's not fix it?
More or less the second one. We're really lucky that, we live in an age where anyone can, has access to like creating music, recording music, just kind of on their own and at home. We're also very fortunate that Paul and Joe are really talented producers, recorders, mixers, etc. So, I mean, it's kind of, if it's not broken, let's, not fix it. And, it also gives us an element of, or like a further element of control over the material that we put out if, it's in our hands the entire time. And I feel like that's of some importance to us.
I agree with Marcus. Just to add a couple things, I think if it's not broken, don't fix it, but let's try to make it a little bit better still. So we did the similar things that we have done in the past, but we upped our game just a little bit. For one thing, for guitar reamping, Joe bought 4 brand new speakers for one of his cabinets and put 4 different speakers in a cabinet. And so we basically tested out 6 or 7 different speakers while we were tracking and while we were reamping the guitars. What else different did we do, Joe?
I think a lot of it was about performances. I feel like the difference that we had on this record, where maybe our first record, we were just trying to make a record for the first time to see what it sounded like, and then with Eyes of Blue Light, we sort of established this process where we were doing the production and doing the reamp workflow. We honed that in on Doom City, but on this one, I feel like what I was looking for was, with the guitar performances, was to get a character-based guitar performance where it really sounded like a band and not just something that we nitpicked over in a DAW, right, to get it sterile. I really wanted my performances to have some character to them, and I think that's what we got for everybody's playing. I would say that I agree with Paul that we've done pretty much the same workflow since Eyes of Blue Light, but we have evaluated it and said, how can we improve this? And having that character was something that I focused on in this go round.
Okay, so this is a very personal opinion. I find your music very interesting because a lot of your riffs and the music and the songwriting is very much American, but the production and the sonic quality of the album feels a lot more European. What are some of the sonic references or albums that you used as references to nail the sound that you ultimately put out?
That's a great question. I think that's right on, is that we have a mixture of those influences, and it's probably wildly diverse even among the different members in the band. And so we all have a different thing that we're maybe looking for. In terms of for what I like to hear, and I probably have the most like power metal, melodic death metal type of sensibility in the band. It's about the in old In Flames records and Children of Bodom for me, and even stuff like Halloween or Thin Lizzy, that type of thing.
Okay, sorry. Since you said In Flames, I'm going to subject you to this. Animesh saw this a mile away. New In Flames, yay or nay? Simple.
Nay. Nay for me.
I haven't even heard it yet.
Come on, Joe.
Yeah, I've listened to a little bit of it. I like it. I admire the way that they have been fearless in changing their styles, but I don't know that it's always served them that well. And so I don't. It's not a great position to be in, to have to do a return to form record.
Yeah.
But if you need to do it, it's better to take care of it and do what you've got to do.
I
Okay,
always
sorry
wonder
for
how
that.
bands decide that, okay, this record we need to bring back or go back to our roots, and this record will be the one that will silence
Metallica,
all-
Metallica. Just saying.
Okay, cool, whatever.
Made it. We made it to Metallica Angst.
Listen, trust me. There's not one episode that we've done
Yeah, and
in the 200 odd episodes. No mention of Metallica and Iron Maiden. So, sorry, it had to be me.
Oh well.
The joke for us is every conversation we have, it's not you, it's us. Every conversation we have, we always will eventually get to Metallica angst. Every time.
So I'm just gonna largely put it that probably we're in like the 5-year range of each other. So that would kind of also explain all our feelings. I mean, come on, we all probably heard Saint Anger around the same time. So yeah.
I think we all experienced the same roller coaster ride of emotions with their discography.
Exactly. Before we further derail this conversation, let's stick to Necropanther. One of the things also I found interesting was that the album was mixed by Dave Castillo, and this was done all the way in Stockholm, Sweden. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't been to Sweden, so I would definitely jump on the first trip I could to go to Sweden. But other than that, why go all the way to Sweden to mix the album?
It's really related to what Animesh was asking about. So this was our second time going to Sweden to mix the record. Eyes of Blue Light was mixed by Fredrik Nordstrom.
Mhm.
And then we did Doom City with Dave Otero here stateside. And the first record was Mana Studios. So we went American, European. And so it, we were similar back to the old spreadsheet. We had a voting matrix and the different mixers that we were considering. We think it's important to have a varied sound for the different records, like Metallica. And so when the voting matrix came up, we I think the Torn Arteries Carcass record probably pushed David to the top of the list, and like you say, visiting Sweden is never a bad thing. So yeah, we had a great trip out there.
Yeah.
Peter, to your point, I had also not been to Sweden prior to this album. So when Castillo came to the top of the list, I was of the exact same mind as you, where I was like, I'm going to be on that trip, like no matter what. So it was great. It was a wonderful experience. David was awesome to work with. He's a really intuitive, really engaged guy who, actually cared about the music and was actually involved in the mixing process. And you could tell that he cared about what came out of it. So nothing but good things to say about our time in Sweden and with Castillo.
So basis to basis, did you have to ask for your bass levels to be pushed up a bit?
I mean, don't we always?
I think I asked for it a lot too. I was like, push up that bass. He's like one of the best bass players I've ever heard. Push it up. We need to hear it.
Yeah, it's true. And we, like, the last day of mixing, that was really the last note that we had, was like, we went through the songs and crank up the bass.
Yay. Alrighty. So let's play another song from the album. Yeah. Which one was possibly the most challenging song to record?
The most challenging song for me was If You Can Count. It's got a lot of weird timings, hard riffs. The riffs go all over the fretboard, all the way, like back and forth. So that one was the most difficult for me to record.
Yeah, I'll second that.
I think that one's great, and it's got a spot for Marcus's bass. He's got a place where he leads the song in the middle. So I think that's an awesome choice.
Alrighty, so here it is. Here is If You Can Count.
Now, one of the things actually I discovered when I think you'll put out your last EP, right, where in depths we sleep, is someone mentioned on Twitter is that why does all the Necropanther EPs sound different? And I had to kind of figure out, because I was like, there has to be a reason for it, right? And then I went and I looked up and I was like, wait, each member is writing an individual EP. And that's a great thing if you think about it, right? So when we were prepping for this, I realized one person's missing out. So Joe, this is towards you. When's your EP coming out? And yeah, let's start with that because I have a follow-up to it then.
Sure. We don't have a release date yet, but I have begun work on it. I have concepts for it and some demos going. So, not try to just reload and get after it again. The other guys have made some pretty awesome and inspiring work that I think I've got my work cut out for me to make something that stands up to what they've done.
Is that something that you want to kind of follow in the future, or was that just something that you kind of experimented with in the middle, doing EPs like that and albums written collectively?
So Marcus joined right as we were recording Eyes of Blue Light, and so he came into the band with material that we knew wasn't going to make that record. And so, we said, well, this is good material. What should we do with it? Let's make an EP of Marcus's. And I think we were, maybe a week into that project where it was like, well, we should all do this. We're all writers. We all have our own way of seeing this stuff. We all have material that's not going to make records. This should be a secondary program of the band to explore the different avenues and the ways that we can, as a band, support one of our individual artistic visions. And so going back to the reviews, it's sort of interesting. Some of the reviews talk about, well, it's a Necropanther record, you know what you're going to get. Maybe so. But with the EPs, you definitely do not. We're going to explore some of the stranger desires that we might have.
So basically, you're just setting expectations that if the EP you put out is like funeral doom metal, that people should not be surprised.
Why didn't you guys do it like how Kiss did when each band member released their own individual albums together on the same date or something, right?
Yeah, I think about
Ace's album absolutely smoked everyone else's.
Yeah. I definitely think about those when we're doing the EPs, and I think that's part of the reason is, like, if we do them all together, it sort of weakens our powers as a band. But if we all support one member's artistic vision, hopefully they can do something that we never would have thought of or done as a band, but we have all the firepower supporting that as we do it.
You actually have a show coming up tomorrow, and also an album release show with Vader, Kirsan, and Discrepant Birth. What's the set list looking like, and what are you looking forward to in more shows? Or for those tuned in, when can they expect to see you guys live?
So yeah, we have the show tomorrow, which is kind of going to be a fun one. It's going to be fairly atypical for us. It's taking place at a brewery on a game night where there's going to be like fencing and like, I don't know, some other like blade displays. I don't know. We signed up for it because it's going to be fun. It's going to be chunked up into a couple 15-minute sets and then a longer like 45-minute set. That one's going to be fairly rigorous. I think we worked up about an hour of material that features a lot of the new tunes. That's basically our meat and potatoes kind of set. But we've also just, after we, run a set at practice, we have I think something like 10 to 12 other songs of ours that we've also just been rehearsing, so we have them in our back pocket. So we'll be playing all of those. Then we have another show March 17th in the Springs. We'll be playing some new tunes, and then that CD release with Christine and Vader, which I'm so excited for. Well, we're gonna do the same thing and just, try and melt as many faces as we can.
Since tomorrow's show is going to be on game night, are you guys playing Eye of the Tiger? I just watched Creed last night and it's still fresh on my mind. Sorry.
Where were you 2 weeks ago when we were practicing?
Just kidding. In my head, you mentioned fencing, and I'm like, damn, people are getting ready and about to hit, and imagine the band playing Eye of the Tiger. Wow. Training montage.
Dude, but that's like totally fucking metal. I mean, like, imagine fencing. Because, I mean, let's be honest also. Fencing, if you ever watched it or seen it, for something as metal as that, you're just like so serious, right? You want like some fucking metal playing and all of that. When I think fencing, I think like fucking Braveheart kind of shit. Like it has to be like that level, right? Otherwise it's no fun. Like you need to have the blood and gore, right?
Now I'm imagining Crush 'Em being played along while fencing is happening.
That's exactly why we decided to take the show, was like, what cooler thing, like what cooler soundtrack to have over like Dungeons and Dragons being played and fucking fencing happening than just like, let's get some metal and like just make it, an event and make it fun.
Oh man, I hope you guys are recording that in some way or the other. Alrighty, on that note, Necropanther, it's been an absolute pleasure shooting the shit with you guys. Thank you so much for taking some time out and doing this with us.
It was fun. Thanks,
Thank you for
Animesh.
having
Thanks,
us.
Peter.
Animesh and Peter, thank you guys so much for having us.
You guys know what to do. Why don't you check out Betrayal by Necropanther? Check the album out, then come back and listen to this podcast again, and boom, you'll have a lot more appreciation and context. Once you do that, you can let us know your thoughts. Reach out to us on honsupod.com or on Twitter at honsupod. As always, I'm on Twitter at asmoani.
I'm at Trend Crusher.
And this was Horns Up.